Yeah, we got an old head versus young boy conversation. That's what we grew up in Philly. I'm an old head, and my son Griot Noy, he's a young buck. And we got a lot of differentiations in the culture now. Things that's going on, things that we understand, things that are changing. So we just gonna have a conversation. Old head to the young buck, Philadelphia terms, and just get it all out there.
For sure, man. So yeah, like he said, all right, my name is Griot Noy. That's my artist name. I got that term Griot from him. You know what I'm saying? So for those who don't know, this is my dad, but since I'm my own artist, we are gonna be doing it like Griot Noy and Omar Tyree. So Griot Noy and Urban Griot. Just talking about the change through the generations. And with this being like this kind of a podcast style setup.
Okay.
So with that being said, I guess I'll start it off like this, because this is something we just spoke about, which is we was talking about KRS-One, right? And I told him I seen a clip. He seen the same clip of KRS-One talking about back in the day. You know what I'm saying? He was like almost homeless. He'll ride the subway. His music will come on the radio, and everyone playing it. Oh, yo, who is this? Who is this? But because we didn't have the internet accessible like this, nobody would have known that was him. If he would have told someone he was KRS-One on the subway, they would have thought he was lying, because you can't see him. And now it's the opposite, where you might recognize somebody as famous before you remember what they do, because you've seen them places. So how's that been? Kind of that transition, right? You entering this era where it's a lot of people that they never seen you before, finally seeing you.
Well, it's interesting because even with Zoom calls, you can't have a regular phone call. They want you on Zoom,
Yeah.
or they want you on StreamYard, or some other type of device. And it's funny that you bring up KRS-One. KRS-One has a statement that he said a long time ago. If we live long enough, we all will become hypocrites. And the reason why KRS-One said that, our perspectives change. Every 10 years, we're going to look at ourselves differently. So now with me being 55, about to turn 56, my perspectives have changed so much from when I was your age. Like for instance, if you bring up my book Fly Girl, I wrote it at 19. So at 19, I can be as honest as I want to be about my age group, all us teenagers at 19. But if I had written Fly Girl at age 29, once I got out of school in Howard, I would have changed the things I wrote about, because then I would have been kind of fearful about what I wrote at 19, and I'd have took the stuff out. I can't say that, I can't do that, I can't say that, I can't do that. And now I couldn't even write the book at 39. I wouldn't have been able to write, because then I would have been a pervert. You can't write about a teenage girl and teenage stuff at 39. So the fact that I was 19 allowed me to write Fly Girl with all honesty. But now that I'm older, now it becomes sketchy for some people. What you doing writing this? I was 30-something, that was 30-something years ago. So it's ironic, KRS-One, you brought him up. KRS-One says, if we live old enough, we will all become hypocrites. If your perspective changes.
Yeah, no, most definitely, man. And I think that's a good area to start, because that's the other thing that comes with the internet style of life right now. And the internet style of life, what they do is, right, they like to find stuff that's old, and they like to bring it back and focus on it, like, oh, remember when he did this? We didn't pay enough attention to that. So it's a whole bunch of extra attention. And I'll tell you one thing about this dude, he's staying on business. So with how he wrote that at 19, he not folding, you know what I'm saying? Yeah, I know that's probably your biggest book for the most part. What other books would you say after Fly Girl? Do you have like an order of which you think people have read the most? Fly Girl #1, clearly.
Mm-hmm.
What would you say comes after that?
The sequel, For the Love of Money.
Okay.
And then after that, I got a book called A Do Right Man.
Yeah.
And that was important. It's ironic again, like I'm on blast right now for saying some, emotional things about the relations between black men and black women. But when I first started writing books, we had an author by the name of Terry McMillan who had books that they were just writing about her bad choices in men, but it's realistic. And we didn't have a lot of men writing fiction at that time. So I was in my early 20s, and I was like, look, if no brothers write fiction, to kind of correct the whole bad images of black men in our books, then if an alien came down and read our books, he'd probably kill all the black men alive, because all the books had bad relationships in them. So I came out with a do-right man to, in a sense, balance out that issue for the brothers.
Yeah.
You know, because you got a lot of do-right men that people ignore. They love the bad stuff. When you do things right for years, they ignore you for years and wait for you to do something bad. You know, so I wrote that book back in 1997, and it was big back then because we needed a fictional book to correct the bad images of black men in fiction. And I was the one there to do that. So it's important to be able to have all them perspectives.
No, absolutely. So just to kind of mix it up a little bit, me, Griot Noy, I'm a hip hop artist myself, right? My dad is Omar Tyree, is an author, and a lot of his music selection did influence me and how, you know, my ear grew over the years and what I like to listen to. And my biggest inspirations, he kind of led me to a lot of those, him and my mom. So what I would say is we have worked together before musically, right? We've done a few things, but like we said, this is the young one versus the old head, right? So we bump heads when it comes to music stuff. I won't never argue about the books. We bump heads musically, but what I will say about that is I was gonna ask you, what was the main hip hop influences on you when you were first starting writing books? Like, what was the relation between your perception of hip hop and how much inspiration did it give some of your thoughts as far as writing books?
Honestly, I'm a revolutionary mind. So I always say I was born in the wrong era. So I have a lot of fire and passion that I always exude. And so the groups that I listen to, and I listen to everybody, but Public Enemy, Chuck D and them, yes, here it is, yes, that whole power, that passion. And then Gangstar, you know,
Yeah.
These are the words that I manifest. So conscious material that was powerful, it attracted me because, you know, it's like I kind of feel like I should have been around, you know, the civil rights era, you know what I mean, the Black Panthers, because I always had that radical emotionalism ready to go. And Public Enemy, Chuck D, and Guru with Gangstar. Now I listen to everybody, but them dudes really stood out as far as what drove me to want to write things for the community, because I've always written for the community. It's never been just about money. It's never been to write something that the people want. It's always been about what I want to give them so we can talk about it. So I always like, you know, subjects that allow you to talk. And so the comments or the music that came out, Public Enemy and Gangstar, you was definitely talking about what they wrote. And so those would be the two groups. But I listen to everybody. Rakim is still the best rapper to me, the 18th letter. And then I like Big Daddy Kane. And I like Cool G Rap and his storytelling. So that's 3 New York rappers. And then with me being from Philly, Schoolie D was one of the first dudes that came out when we was in high school, that PSK song. So, you know, but the main influence on my writing is the radicalism of Public Enemy and the consciousness of Gangstar.
Yeah, absolutely. Who would you say is someone, what new artists have been in your ear now, for the most part?
When Lil Baby did that radical song from Atlanta.
Oh, I know what you're talking about, yeah.
Yeah, that Lil Baby, because what's happening now, a lot of people don't want to speak up on things that are uncomfortable. You know what I mean? So now a lot of people, I don't want to do that, my audience don't want that, so a lot of people back down when it's time to speak up. And so again, I'm from that era where we want to speak up. I should have been back in the day. Tupac Shakur will speak up. So you have people that, and when Lil Baby did that one record, man, you know what I mean, talking about politics and the people, you know, that was during the COVID years.
Yeah, it was.
So so once he did that, I said, all right, that elevated him to another level for me. Now, as far as lyrics are concerned, it's a lot of guys that got great lyrics. But when Lil Baby did that and dealt with politics, you know, but sometimes people get scared you might lose your money if you say this and that, you put this record out. And again, with me being a Public Enemy guy and a Gangstar dude, I'm not thinking about losing money. I'm thinking about saying the right thing to the community.
Yeah.
So Lil Baby, he got me with that song.
Yeah. Now I wanna rewind a little bit back to that creative passion aspect, because you are a very passionate person with your creativity, and I am too. So one thing I would bring up about the you know, the young generation versus the old heads that we've spoken about before, you know, certain things like different prices of homes, inflation. Our generation is a lot more expensive than y'all's was. So with that being said, I'll give y'all a piece of information about him, just as a piece that maybe let them know you a little bit better, learn you a little bit more. And one piece of that is, right, y'all see me in my little work pants, right? I'm outside of music, I'm primarily a blue collar guy myself, cable technician, right? I gotta work at the airport, I might do some Lyft, I might do a little contract work, things of that nature. And one thing I think that's different as far as your perspective, creativity, like in terms of creativity and what you produce, is this man right here, right? Like he said, he wrote Fly Girl at 19, at a different age in life, but right off of that, he's all in on his creativity, right? And that was something we speak about often, is he never had to do stuff like work a job to fund his books. So it instills you got a certain level of confidence that nobody has that perspective. Like, you 19, you got a book, you become a New York Times bestseller, you come right into the book deal. So what is your perspective on the newer generation, and as far as, I know you've done some of the online books a little bit, you dabbled in it, just try to change with the times. What is your perspective on how people go about making that conversion now, like from work to I'm focused on my craft? Because it can be a little bit more difficult because it's so much more expensive.
Yeah. Well, I'm a workaholic, number one. So you would never hear that term lazy and shiftless from this black man. Nobody will ever say that about Omar Tyree. And so I'm an overachiever from West Philadelphia area called The Bottom. I didn't start selling books at 19. I wrote it at 19.
Okay, yeah.
I didn't bring it out until I got out of Howard at like 24.
Okay.
So at 24, but I still wrote it at 19, so it was freshed up. And then by the time I was 24 at Howard, I had already done, the independent jobs like you. I also cut hair, Philadelphia, we cut hair. So I was always working, always had money, always grinding out, making things happen. So yeah, a lot of times people have excuses about stuff. I don't have excuses. Go at it, do your work, do what you're supposed to do. And so I've always been a man about principle, about work, because that's old school. Ain't nobody's gonna give you anything. So now you got people that came out of Howard, they wanted jobs, they're getting interviews and all that. I came right out, borrowed some money, and invested in my own business, and started pushing my own business. And with that, I had to talk to a lot of people. I had to do a whole lot of interviews, I had to do a whole lot of distribution up and down the East Coast. And I'm like your age, meeting dudes in their 40s, and they was loving me because they could feel the hustle. They could feel the passion I had for the people. And so I had old heads, man. When I'm in my 20s, I'm hanging out with dudes in their 40s getting money off the book game.
Yeah.
And so it was different. It definitely was different. Now I get older, and my work ethic is so strong that I get around people that don't have that work ethic. And us old men, we're like, man, you lazy, you don't work. And so now you can be real critical. Mm-hmm. It's almost like Michael Jordan talking about other people. Michael Jordan is like the epitome of basketball, so it becomes kind of hard when he talks about other people's work ethic. So it's similar to that. I'm not comparing myself to Michael Jordan, but as far as the work ethic is concerned, when you old school and we work, that's what we do. So we're not really into, the featherweight stuff and getting hookups. I'm always grinding, always working. So that's how I, was successful. But for other people that have to work now, it's hard, man. Y'all say y'all got more access to people for social media.
Oh yeah, for sure.
But if you only got 2,000 followers, you don't have access to 2 million people. So it's still the same way in America, where one person has 5 million followers and another person has 5,000. That ain't equal. You both have an opportunity to get to more people, but you still ain't getting to anywhere near 5 million. So it's still hard for people, even with social media.
And that's a good segue, because that's part of why we're here, right? Like, why we decided to do this interview. Part of it, like, he brought up a little bit. He was on blast a little bit for a specific interview he did, and we had a realization, right? When I came over, we talked to him about it, talked about social media, how to handle social media a little bit better, how to handle interviews a little bit better. And with that being said, we came to the realization that because you're from a different generation, you never necessarily did the conversion of podcasts or series, because that's not like going to a radio show, right? You're from the generation where you got to go to the radio, right? And it's a completely different experience. It's very, from your generation, that's considered to be more professional. But in this generation, podcasts are way more popular and they reach a lot more ears than the radio. And it's arguably a much more powerful tool than the radio. So that's kind of where we came into this young dude, old head conclusion of just connecting those pieces. Man, we might end up making it a series maybe, and if this goes well, you know, seeing about sprinkling some things in there every now and then. Maybe I might got to teach him some social media tricks, you know what I'm saying? As I like to call myself a bit of an expert in that region.
Well, I tell you this, I gotta take it more seriously, because definitely, if I'm going into a radio station, if I'm going into a television station, if I'm sitting down with a person that works for the New York Times or the Washington Post, you know, that I'm on my cues. But when I get on podcasts, I start getting relaxed and I start getting personal, and then you start forgetting about your professionalism. So then, like, all the stuff that was on my brain just came out, you know what I mean, without didn't mean it. I apologize for all that, you know, aggressiveness that came out, but sometimes you have things on your mind already that have nothing to do with the interview, but you're already thinking about it and you push it out there, you know, because you're so outspoken. And I've been that outspoken person. But yeah, in the podcast, you still have to respect that space, respect the people who are interviewing you. And so yeah, it's a different space that you have to take seriously and you have to respect. It's a new world. So I apologize for that, but that was just old school passion. And then some of the things that you say, now you got old school versus new school. And that we need to have fuller conversations about the things that were said. But it came out like that because I had things on my mind already that had nothing to do with the interview, but I wanted to get them out. It's kind of like having that, you know, pot of spaghetti, and you forget about it for 30 minutes, and that joker like, whoa, and it's gonna blow. So it don't come out nice and neat, it just blows all over the place. And so I apologize for that, it blew all over the place. But I already had issues about black men and women having, you know, legitimate, honest conversations on my mind, because what's going on right now, a lot of men are not conversing with what bothers them, and women are not conversing about what bothers them in the same context, in the same place. So we got women talking over here and men talking over here, and I got hurt by that because, you know, personally, I'm like, yo, dude, I need to understand this. And so that was a force where I'm like, I need to find it, but it was the wrong venue, wrong place, and I apologize to Sister Storm and, you know, all the people that was offended by it, but that's what it was, this passion coming out. I do not hate black women. You know what I mean? I've been around black women my whole life, as you know, been dealing with black women my whole life, supporting and getting supported by black women my whole life. But when you have an argument with your sister, an argument with your aunt, your argument with your, you know, your cousin, you know, a friend that you grew up with, you don't hate them, you just had a conflict. And so I had a conflict that I have to deal with now, but I got to keep on my P's and Q's to have that as a representation, never to do that again, because I was professional all these years, and now I'm older, where I'm starting to get emotional about some of the things that's going on, but you can't get emotional in the wrong space. So, you know, I got to apologize for that. Podcast, them things are powerful as ever now, no doubt about it.
Nah, and I think that, but I think that gave you that realization. I feel like everybody has to have that, though. You know, everybody has to have that, but it'll get ironed out. You know what I'm saying? One thing I will say is, right, this dude, he definitely outspoken, right? I'm gonna put some sun chips in there, right? This is where this same dude, he the same dude, right? We go to the restaurant and that food come a little bit late. He wanted the free dessert. Hey, man, well, come on, man, let's get the free dessert. Throw some extra sauce in there, man. Let's get some extra fries, man. Come on, man. That was a little bit too long. So
the extra push.
Yeah, he always gonna say the extra thing, but he never mean any harm, man. But we definitely could make this a thing. Maybe make it a series. Maybe do a bunch of short episodes. You know what I'm saying? Every now and then, when we get around to it.
Yeah. Well, you know, I'm going to use that as again an example on this other side to keep straight and narrow. You know, but you know I've been working. You my son, so you know how long I've been working in the community. Your whole life I've been in the community doing intellectual events, cultural events, and I don't back down. And that's the thing. So that passion came out because I'm the dude where if you want to fight and it's a cultural thing and you want somebody that's going to stand up for you, Omar Tyree is that dude from Philadelphia. So it's not that I'm just want to fight my own people. I'm going to fight any fight. But right now, we got a battle between the sexes that we need to figure out how to talk to one another on. And I happen to be in the middle of it personally. And so it came out that way. But I love my people, and I'm gonna go to battle for my people. So you got that power of battle, you know what I mean? But I'm battling wrong. You don't battle your own people, you know, but yeah, it's that same spirit. I'm just from a different era, man. I should have been around with the daggone Black Panthers and Snick and all that kind of stuff. But it's a new era where my passion, even at 55, it come out. Because I'm a passionate person, but you always got to keep your cool and stay professional, and that's what I'm going to do from here on out.
Yeah, not to mention, man, you was we spoke about this too. He was fresh off that Eagles win, man, that Super Bowl win. He was a little amped up.
Yeah.
So how was the game for you? Clearly, you watched the game. How exciting was it to see them win the Super Bowl?
I was nervous, man, because of course the Eagles went to the Super Bowl 2 years ago with the same team, and I was already talking about the victory. You know, in fact, you know, I came up with a sister by the name of Dawn Staley, basketball.
Okay, yeah.
And Dawn Staley, you know, she's 1 year younger than me. So I went to Central High and she went to diving. So I saw Dawn Staley play at the high school level. Dawn is tough, always tough. But Dawn made the comment that same morning 2 years ago that the Eagles had already won. It's divine, you know, and we ended up losing. So I didn't want to say nothing this game. So I was just cool until we actually won it. And then it just went overboard. I was all amped up. You get around men, and when you're around sports, it's the natural inclination is get all your stress and tension out. Yeah, yeah! That's why we screaming and yelling everything, and it's a masculine to get it all out. Women too, yelling and screaming. And so I came off that same energy and went into an interview where it's time to cut off that thing and get back to professionalism and control yourself. And that's why I had the Eagles hat on, and now I'm embarrassed because like, oh my God, like, you know. But I mean, that's life, man. You gotta accept it. So when people ask about it, I gotta deal with it. You know what I mean? I gotta take it face the matter and go ahead and converse on everything I said and everything that was wrong, everything that, you know, needed to be discussed. But yeah, you can't run away from it. I'm not gonna do that. You know, it was a group called The Far Side. They had a famous song I love, Can't Keep Running Away. I love that song. But I'm not no runner. You know what I mean? I'm gonna step up to it. I said some things. I'm gonna face the music, and that's what we gonna do.
Sure. So what you working on right now? Like, what's the next thing? We can wrap it up like this.
Well, you know, right now I'm working on putting together a tour for the book. Of course, Fly Girl has all the trilogy coming out, For the Love of Money and Boss Lady.
Yeah.
And on that tour, I'm going to continue to answer questions about everything, you know, because that book still represents a black woman in her teenage years, then a black woman in her 20s, and a black woman in her 30s. And so what I actually brought up with black women making choices when they're young, changing the choices when she gets older, and then changing the choice, that's what everybody does. And so I'm still going to be talking about that change of energy, change of choice, change of expectation, change of value, change of principles. Every 10 years, we all going to change. And that's why, again, starting with KRS-One, everybody's going to end up being a hypocrite unless you never change. You know, which is hard to do. You know, you get 50, you tell me you still the same person that you were at 18. That's hard to believe. You know, so yeah, I gotta face the music, and I'm ready to do that.
Sound like a plan, man. Well, that's I think that just about wraps it up, man. With me here, Griot Noy, Omar Tyree, the Urban Griot, the young versus the old. We'll probably hit y'all with another one after this, man. Definitely good interview. I'll give you a pound.
Much love.